I should have let you in. Don't you ever say I'll just walk away. I will always want you. I came in like a wrecking ball. I never hit so hard. All I wanted was to break you off. All you ever did was break me like a wrecking
I love that. I love that. Oh, man. Folks, I think you can tell we're going to be talking about music tonight. I am so excited. I've been trying to get Jeremy on the show for a while. We've kind of played tag. All of that was me. I apologize that the sound wasn't as great as it could have been, but that was all me on my phone, just recording a lot of that and on the rocks. Very first time I went on the ship, I fell in love with that venue. Slam Adams was there, and Jeremy, man, you just rock. You totally rock, man.
Thank you. Way to butter me up, Walter, to get the show going. I appreciate that.
and you know, I am a wannabe drummer, so you know, watching you play the drums is absolutely amazing. Alex already wants to know what your channel is. I'll pop that up in a second. But first, let me just say, hey, folks, welcome. I am Walter, your independent travel agent with Where's Walter Travel. We book your cruises, land, luxury, expedition. Our services are 100% free to use. So just reach out anytime, where'swaltertravel.com. And we are a top 100 elite agent for Virgin Voyages and all that amazing music that Jeremy is responsible for. So first, I just want to say hello. Let's see, we got Alex, we got Eric, we got Annette, I've got Sue, we got Bill's fan, we got Mimi, everybody's here. Corey's here, Michael's here. Hey guys, how are you? Look, Michael's getting ready for Scarlet Night. He's on his very first Virgin Voyage right now, getting ready for Scarlet Night.
Loving it.
I love it. I love it. So, hey, everybody, how are you all doing? Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. This is a very special hour that we're going to be talking about the music and the sound. If you've never been on a Ladyship, you really need to get on a Ladyship because there is something about them. They sound different. The music is different. Everything is different about it. And Jeremy is actually the person behind it all. So why don't we just start out, man? Why don't you give us a little bit of your background and like how we got to where we are today?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Ahoy, everybody, all of Walter's mates. I appreciate chatting with you. It's great. I've been a musician for 35 years. I've been rocking the drums since I was knee-high to a tadpole. Wow. I've spent the past decade doing talent buying. Before I came over to Virgin, I was talent buying in the casino industry in Arizona. I bought all the venues for Talking Stick Resort and Casino Arizona. I also did work with properties in Seattle and Texas, managed those venues much like I do here. And the opportunity came up for me to head over to Virgin Voyages, this new cruise ship thing. Fun story is I'm not typically a cruise fan, which is probably not a good thing to say on someone who sells voyages, but from a music standpoint, I used to work on ships, and it was never something I enjoyed. I'm a music purist at heart. I actually quit at one time. I actually quit the industry 3 times, and when Virgin popped up, it was an opportunity to be a part of something really special. Again, as a music purist, I know the Virgin name. So I went from someone who didn't want to work in cruises to someone who had to work for this particular cruise line because of the way we're doing business. Yeah.
Wow. And I see we already have a question about scouting. We'll get there in a second, Froggy. I love your handle. That's fabulous. We'll get there in a second. How I think you actually said a really good thing. You said, look, I'm not typically a cruiser. I typically don't cruise. And I think that's actually one of the strengths of Virgin Voyages. I think the brand, the style, the fact that it's so different. We've been able to bring a lot of people who typically would not get onto a cruise ship and say, come try this thing. You just might like it. and those people become repeat cruisers. So I'm really curious, how did you even like find out about it? How did you get involved with Virgin Voyages?
With Virgin in particular, it was actually on LinkedIn. I saw a job opening on LinkedIn, and I actually applied just so I could practice.
LinkedIn.
I hadn't applied for a job in a long time, so it was like,
Mhm.
I'm going to just use this to practice. Again, I wasn't really interested in a cruise gig. And then once I met the team, especially Richard Kilman, who's our vice president of entertainment, I was like, this is the place for me. And then,
Oh,
of
wow.
course, once you get on board and you really dive into the history of Virgin and you understand
Right.
this is why the ships sound or should sound differently, it's much bigger than I think people realize.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And just for clarity for everybody, you handle that's literally like the music on the ship. You don't have anything to do with dual reality or any of the theatrical shows.
No, my domain is entirely music. So booking the bands, background music, the music you hear in the terminals at the beach club, call centers, all basically all the music. I work closely with our director of creative,
Uh-huh.
Pepper, just to kind of make sure that we are providing a variety of music across all touch points on board. We
Hmm.
do a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure, for instance, if you go to PJ Party, the style of music at PJ Party is 90s 2000s pop, and we try to
Right.
keep it there so we can give that to sailors. And then if you're to go to Studio 72, that's going to be a disco party. So we're working together to try to create as much variety as we can, because our ships are
That's cool.
small. We don't have an independent venue for a Latin room or an independent venue for a dueling piano bar room or something like that. So we have to use everything to give a variety.
Yeah, and I love that. We talked about that a couple days ago, where you said, "Look, we don't segregate. We don't have like a jazz bar and a Latin bar and a rock bar. It's like you're gonna hear different things during different day parts in different places." I think that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's also goes back to, the name on the hull. I think I always say that to everybody I work with. You have to always keep in mind the name on our hull is that of one of the greatest record labels ever. And that's not me exaggerating. I mean, Virgin Records existed, they still exist today in one form or another, but for 3 decades they crisscrossed every musical genre. We went
Right.
from, the Sex Pistols to Boy George to Human League, which wasn't even a thing back then, to Janet Jackson, Avicii, Bastille. We've had all these styles on there, so when people hear the
Right.
Virgin name, they all kind of attribute the music to the era of the Virgin they remember. So it's important for us to present it differently, like a
That's cool.
record label would. Like a record label is going to give you something new and special to enjoy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. So Mimi loves this. She's saying, "I really like how the music enhances the vibe of different areas of the ship. Example, if I want a chill vibe, I go back to the dock house area, and that music is usually normally a chill vibe. It's usually a lot of like acoustical, small sets. It's really lovely back there." Um, and then, why don't we jump into Froggy real quick? We'll jump ahead to scouting. I
Okay.
think this is a great question, and thank you for joining us, Froggy Lad Kermit. Great name, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What what are you looking? So for anybody who's watching, what are you looking for when scouting talent, and what tips would you give to someone who's just starting out? That's a great question.
Oh yeah, that's a great question, Froggy. For Virgin in particular, we are fundamentally looking to rival land, not sea. So we're constantly operating like an A&R team on a record label would. We don't have, you won't see us saying, hey, we need a trio for this voyage. We're not advertising that on LinkedIn. We're going out and we're scouting. I have specific agents I work with that assist me, but we go and we look on land for talent. And it's basically built on the music. Like we know what's going to work on an itinerary, but we're not looking for a country band that plays these tunes. We're just
Hmm.
looking for really strong, good music, which again is borrowed from Virgin's history. That's how we did it since the jump. We always went music first. We didn't care who you looked, what you looked like, where you were from, who you loved. As long as it was good, we brought you on board.
Right.
But for us, the important thing is you have to have, one of my entertainment directors describe it the best, Something that's a little left of center. When you see, especially our guest artist bands on board, they all have something that's a little bit unique. They're not just playing songs, they're presenting them in a unique, fresh way. And
Mhm.
I think for anybody's wondering, how do I start booking? How do I start getting out there in today's market? It's extremely noisy. So you got to find your voice and stick to it and really try to sell that, because everybody can play a Bruno Mars cover. Not everybody can play a Bruno Mars cover as a bachata, so that's kind of what we look for.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. And I will say, as somebody who has now been on, I think, 6 or 7 voyages now, I mean, On the Rocks is a venue that all of you will get to know when you go on the ship for the first time. And it is such a mix that you may hear, in fact, almost everything you heard in that lead up tonight was mostly from On the Rocks. And it was such different music, including that one phenomenal guitar player who I believe she was in the Wrecking Crew
Yeah.
at one time, right?
Yep. Joanna Connor. Absolutely.
Oh my God, she was amazing. And that's what I love about that particular venue, is you just never know what you're going to see or what you're going to hear on that ship. And that's interesting that you have agents out there. So you're operating basically like a record label then.
100%. 100%. That's been the design since day one for us, is to, Virgin at its core is all about disruption. It started in the music industry. I'll give you a little
Mhm.
story to articulate this. 1977, the entire world was all about soft rock. Eagles Hotel California, great tune,
Yep.
but that was the song of the year. It was all about that Laurel Canyon vibe. And
Right.
there was this band that was just getting tossed around from label to label because they were anything but that. They were also extremely wild and crazy. And Richard Branson saw them, he wanted them, and when the opportunity came, he signed them. And they released this album called Nevermind the Bollocks, Here Comes the Sex Pistols. They release, Anarchy in the UK. And what happens is that disruption happens, and it shifts the music industry. It shifts
Right.
popular culture. We're no longer in soft rock. Now we're punk rock. It's changed. And Virgin
Right.
continues to do that for decades. We did it with the Human League. We did it with Boy George. We just continue to do it over and over again. And when you
Right.
look at us as a company from the
Mhm.
top down, disruption is a core of everything we do. Doesn't matter if it's airlines, doesn't matter if it's space, trains, hotels, and
Yeah.
cruise ships. So as the music guy, it's important for me to make sure that whatever we do and present on our cruise ships, it disrupts the industry just a little
Yeah.
bit. We don't want to go too crazy, but we definitely want to
Right.
present it left of center for people who come on our ships, because that's who we are.
That's so cool. And Greg here is saying that they were on Resilient Lady past summer. Like, we remember the bands, like we remember these people because they are not Build-A-Bands, and we'll talk about that in a second. But they performed in a roundabout, going on Scarlet Lady in September. Can't wait to see who's there. I mean, with a lot of cruise ships, it's like we know we're going to have music, but we're actually like, okay, who's going to be on? Because I'm always looking for Slam Adams. Every time I come on the ship, it's like, is Slam here? Is Slam here? I really want to see him play because he's so awesome. And I think it is really the only cruise line that I really like. It's not just, oh yeah, let's go see what the band is playing and whatever. It's like, yeah, let's go down to On the Rock because so-and-so is there and we've got to go see them. It's a really interesting culture. And what I find really interesting, when you and I were talking, you said it didn't start that way. You said it kind of started out like any other cruise ship. Like, here's your playlist and you play. I'd love to hear that a little bit about how all that.
When we started, remember, the world was a completely different place pre-COVID, and
Right.
Virgin was very electronic focused.
Mhm.
We were supposed to have 4 DJs on a ship, and we had a 5-piece band that did a show. And when they weren't doing this show, they would break up, or what we call busk, and they would play sets on their own. And to do that, they did a very, it's a model, and I'm not saying this is a bad model. It works really well for a lot of
Sure.
cruise lines, but it was the model of, okay, we're going to have them break up. The person in charge is going to give them a book of material and say, here's the material you play. And
Okay.
while I was on board, I think we talked about this story
Yeah.
that literally changed this. I came across the piano player from the band. He was in On the Rocks. There was not a soul in there. He just looked so
Wow.
defeated. He was playing the piano, his head's down, and I sat and I watched him, and I said, hey, what are you playing? And he was like, the book they gave me. And I was like, just humor me for a second. It was like my third day. I was already in boss mode, you know. I was like, just humor me for a second, dude. Just take this book away, play whatever you want. He was like, really? I was like, just do it. And he started playing a tune by Younger. I think it's Meet Me in, it's a Younger tune. I can't remember the name of it, but you could see his energy shifted. He started looking up. He starts adding Richard Branson's name in it. He's feeling it. And no lie, I start seeing people like just start sitting down. Because
Oh,
again, I'm a music purist, and I think people
sure.
are attached to music when it gives you that emotional attachment. And
Yeah.
I said, that's it, man. Give me that book. You don't even get it back anymore. Just do your thing. And that became the design that we would go forward with. Now it hasn't been easy because that's, again, we're disrupting an industry. We're not
Sure.
following the same model. That meant that we had to change our approach to music. We had to
Sure.
change how much music we could offer and what have you. But it's been awesome.
Wow. And by the way, Alex, I did not forget you. Here is Jeremy's channel, Jer's Drum Shed. So if you want to go hear some drumming, it's great. I've been over there watching it. I'm addicted to Drumeo, so now I'm watching Drumeo, and I'm watching your
Man.
channel as somebody who has wanted to play the drums for a very long time. And I play rock band. That's what I do. I play rock band. That's what I do.
That counts, man. That counts. If you can count to 4, you can drum. So there you go.
I can count to 8, man. I can actually count all the way to 8. So
Oh, you're good for you're advanced. You're good.
I'm so good. I'm so good. But yeah, Jer's Drum Shed. I highly recommend you all get over there, subscribe to it. It's a lot of fun over there. Plus, he does some commentary, some other things too, some fun stuff. But look at all this love for On the Rocks. Even Froggy says, On the Rocks, amazing vibe. Best memory on the ship was sitting in a corner booth, sipping a martini. I'm telling you, I was there. I know exactly where you were sitting. You were over there by the windows, you know, the big, beautiful round windows that are in the corner. And what I want people to understand is how good that venue, and I'm going to jump to this right now because there is a sound. It is very obvious to me that there were some serious audio professionals that worked with the design of the ship, because a lot of ships just sounds like a PA system. You know, it really has kind of that PA. Maybe the voice is a little shrilly over the top, but On the Rocks, like, literally sounds like I'm sitting in a concert venue at almost all times. I would love to hear a little bit about, you know, the sound design and what goes into making that ship sound so good.
Yeah, it of course it starts with an amazing team. The leader of the technical operations, Sam Jacobs, she's brilliant. She actually came over from another cruise line, but before that, she worked in like live sound, so she
Oh, wow.
understands what's needed. But when we designed the ships, we were always thinking about a party could break out in any space. So not just On the Rocks, but pretty much
Oh,
every
wow.
single venue you're in is set up to have a DJ. So there's bass bins, so you get that full presence. A lot of cruise ships, you know, in general, don't have the full array.
No.
I would say they just have the overheads, which makes it sound tinny. We have
Right.
created the full sound spectrum everywhere. Now, I am not going to take credit for that. I know a few. I'm not brilliant like the technicians that work on our ships by any means, but they do an amazing job. On the Rocks, we've continued as we brought on better and better talent. We realized that we had to upgrade our game there. We've had, you know, as we talked about, we've had Grammy winners and gold record holders, platinum record holders
Wow.
on that small stage. And with that, we've always felt like we got to
Wow.
give them a better stage. So we've upgraded that venue, better speakers, in-ear monitors to help bring the volume down for sailors as well. So we're continuing to make those refinements and make it better for everybody. But it's everywhere.
Wow.
Every venue's ready to party. Every venue, we're ready to go.
And that is for sure, because you never know where the musicians are going to be. I mean, they're like everywhere.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things, and Mimi saying, as the music guy, you do an outstanding job no matter where I am on the ship. I love the music. And that kind of
Well,
leads me into my next question, which, you know, when you go to Disney World, And we were talking about this. When you go to Disney World, you cross from Frontierland into, in front of the castle, the music changes. And then you go into Tomorrowland, the music changes. And the music might change a few times along the way. And it does the same thing. I think it was like the second or third voyage. I'm like, wait a minute. And I had to go back through the threshold from the dock and come back into the social club. I'm like, the music just changed right there. Yeah. And then I was I walked all the way to the front and I was like, wait, the music changed like 4 times all the way up to the front. And I thought that was so cool. So you've actually created like music zones on the ship, haven't you?
Yeah, we have our background music is part of the overall, as I said at the top of the chat, we're using everything at our disposal to give our sailors as much of a musical variety as possible, because that's what Virgin would do, right? And with that, we use background music much more. It doesn't exist as background music on Virgin. It's actually part of the experience. We have about 25 zones of music, independent styles of music, and in those zones we have up to 5-6 playlists that'll fire during a day. And what we're doing is we're trying to give you a different feel throughout the day. So if you're in Sip Lounge, for instance, in the morning, it's going to be like older jazz, because nobody's ready to go crazy at that point. You want to sit back and relax. And then as the day rolls on, it moves into modern jazz. And then at nighttime, it kicks into R&B, and it has a much more cool, hipper flavor to it. The Aquatic Club has multiple playlists that fire throughout the day. We described it at the beginning as we wanted to create a cinematic journey. So when you're in the Aquatic Club, you're starting your day, you're going to hit a crescendo, and then you're going to come back down. And we made sure that the background music is really, really key to making that happen. And that's everywhere on the ship. It's pretty impressive. It's really, really crazy.
I mean, how much time does something like, folks, think about it. You're making a playlist for your trip. How long does that take you to do, just to pull together like 30 songs for your trip? What kind of time are we talking about? How much, and is it just you, or do you have a whole team of people pulling these songs together?
We have, it's a combination of both. So there's some spaces that I curate, the larger, what I call the mass spaces. So like if you're in the roundabout, if you're in the Aquatic Club, the galley, those are spaces that I'm curating, and that's approximately, I want to say 140 hours of music that we've curated. So if you think that each song is 3 to 4 minutes, that's a lot of songs. And we update that 2-3 times a year. And then the other spaces, we have a curation team where we have what we call our sonic identity. It's a huge Bible that we go to them and we say, hey, this is extra Virgin. At this time, we want it to sound like this. At this time, this time, this. And then they create the playlist, we review them, and then we enact them. So there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to just make sure we're providing that variety, and we're also just giving that cinematic experience. It's definitely not background music, for sure.
No, I didn't even think about that. Well, you got 6 restaurants, right, that also need music.
Yeah, and they're all unique, and we follow that disruption model. So, I always give the example of one of my favorite restaurants is Extra Virgin. And everybody, when you say I have an Italian restaurant, they come back to you and they're like, all right, we're going to give you Pavarotti, we're going to give you Frank Sinatra, we're going to give you this. And I have to be the guy who says, yeah, that's everywhere else, but this is Virgin, we're the disruptors. We have to think about this differently. So with Extra Virgin, we painstakingly went and found like really, really hip, cool Italian music for at night. Like music, if you were in a club in Italy and you were not an American and everybody was speaking Italian, this is the music you would hear. And that's what we really try to do in these spaces. Yeah.
Oh, that is so freaking cool. I love that. Yeah. And actually, here's a question plays right into that. Jeremy, do you curate the same playlist from ship to ship, or do you change it based on the ship? And I guess I'll even add, do you change it based on the itinerary?
It's less ship to ship. It's more based on itinerary and mostly based on US versus Europe. For the most part, when you're out of the United States, it's going to be the same the same style of music because we do offer that variety everywhere. So you're gonna hear some of those island sounds on the ship at some point, just not
Right.
all the time. And then when
Right.
you're over in Europe, they have a different feel for music. They're a little bit more forgiving. They adopt their music consumption much younger than we do.
Oh,
So they have a more open view to music. So we have a slightly different sound over there.
that's interesting. Can you kind of explain that a little bit more? I've never heard that. It's a very interesting that they have a different viewpoint to music.
Yeah, so it's the drinking age. When
Ah,
you can start drinking and going to clubs at 18, you're 3 years ahead of understanding music than a United States
yeah,
person who's only been drinking at 21. So you've
gotcha.
already developed a much larger music repertoire. So you're more forgiving to allow different styles of music because you've heard more styles
Wow.
by that point. Yeah.
That's very interesting. See, I
Yeah.
never would have thought of that, but the
Yeah.
music guys are going to think about that.
The more you know, there you go.
The more you know, we just need that little star.
Yeah.
And folks, if you're just joining in, again, I'm Walter, your independent travel agent with Where's Walter Travel. We book cruises, land, luxury, expedition, including Virgin Voyages. We are a top 100 sales agent, and tonight we're very thankful to have Jeremy La Rochelle with us. He is the, as you can see, senior manager music production for Virgin Voyages. So any question that you have about music, and I know, Alex, I still have your question about which ship is his favorite and itineraries. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. But the thing that I think blew me away the very first time I was on this ship was Scarlet Night, but not Scarlet Night so much because it was Scarlet Night, but because of the freaking sound system. I've never
Mm.
seen anything like that on a ship, ever. I've never heard anything like that on a ship. I felt like I was at an outdoor concert, and then I could even see the booth, and I'm like, oh my God, that is like a seriously live concert booth that you got running over there. I think that speaks volumes into the sound quality. But why don't you tell us a little, for people who've never been there, tell us a little bit about that setup and wow.
Yeah. Again, so anybody who's an audio person out there, or if my technicians or my director of technical is listening, I'm sorry if I messed this up. Um, but the Aquatic Club is probably the best sounding venue on the ship. It's a multi-line array. There's actually
Mm,
4 line arrays around the system that points into the bowl. So when you're into the
right.
pool, and then we have, I want to say, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we have 8 subs, which again gives us that full
Wow.
sonic spectrum there. We
Wow.
have, we also bring on very high profile talent every once in a while. And it's funny, every time we do that, they always come to us with their rider and they say, we need this, 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 and this. And I always send them the technical packet from the Aquatic Club, and they're like, no, we're cool.
We're good.
We're good. This is, and it's, yeah. So it's a well-designed system. It is definitely perfect for Scarlet Night, because when you think about from a sonic perspective, right? Scarlet Night is the top of the energy.
Right.
That's a festival energy, because that's what it's supposed to be. So when
Right.
you get that bass pumping and you're just given the full laser light show, there's nothing like it for sure.
No, no. And then the Kraken is out there, and it
Yeah.
is, and then people start dancing in the pool, and you're like, yeah, this is amazing. This is
Yeah,
absolutely
it's
amazing.
such a great time. It's such a great time.
Um, so, I think we talked about it the other day. You were saying that you approached the ship, that you're going after land based, and we talked about a little bit with Froggy's question a little while ago, how you were really scouting. How does the caliber of what you're presenting on the ship, like, look, with your sound systems and things like that, especially compared to other, I have to imagine there's acts that you've gotten on your ship that have just said, no, we don't do cruise ships. And then you go to them and you say, well, this is what we got. And then they're like, oh, well, wait a minute, we'll take another look. I mean, I have to imagine that your sound package, your devotion to the quality of the sound helps you to attract some of these bands.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's one of the biggest challenges we face or I face is convincing people who are land-based artists to come play on a cruise ship. Because
Hmm.
there is a stigmata to it. You know, there is this like, oh, you're gonna make me go on there and I'm gonna be dressed in a tuxedo playing the girl from Ipanema or whatever. You know, like again, I'm not dogging any other cruise line. I'm just saying
Right,
that
right.
is the reality of what, you know, especially land-based artists feel. They feel it's below them. And every once in a while I can be really persuasive and I can get them to come on, and once I got them on the ship they're hooked.
Yeah.
Like I would say 90% of the time it doesn't matter who they are, it doesn't matter how many Grammys they have, it doesn't matter if they played on The Voice, it doesn't matter if they've sold gold records. Once we get them on board, once they have not only the sound experience in the venue,
Hmm.
but just, you know, for anybody who's been on our ships, it's a pretty cool experience across the board. It's not a cruise ship at all. It's very laid back. Our crew is phenomenal. You're treated amazing. The food, well, you know, you're going to have to hit the gym a lot. So that's where we get them. So if I can convince this talent to get on the ship, once we do that,
Yeah.
they're coming back over and over again. So, and you know, that's what happened with Slam. So that's your favorite guitarist.
My
That's
favorite
ultimately who did
guitarist.
this.
Oh my God. I mean, he was my introduction to Virgin Voyages. And there is a story that goes along with Slam. I would love for you to tell the story for our viewers.
Yeah. So Slam worked on some other cruise lines. I'm not going to say which ones. He was
Yeah.
very successful at these other cruise lines. He had quit. He was all done. He was actually selling medical supplies. So he was all out of the industry.
Wow.
Such a
Medical
waste of
supplies.
talent.
Yes.
Such a waste of an amazing, amazing performer. And we decided to start this guest artist program where we bring on artists like Slam Allen and Experimento and Free Label and what have you for a month at a time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we were just putting it together. And this is a testament to my boss, Richard Kilman. He was like, hey, give this guy Slam a call. I know him. I worked with him on this other line. He knows me. And Slam called me and he said, listen, I'm calling you. The only reason I'm calling you is because I appreciate Richard. He's a cool guy. Let's talk for a
Right.
bit. And Slam and I talked, and luckily, you know, I think to my credit is I'm a musician at heart, so I
Hmm.
understand their pains and their struggles. And at the end of that call, he was like, you know what? He was like, I'm getting a good vibe from you guys. I like Richard. I dig your vibe. And he signed up. He came out to the ship. We hooked him with those great sounding venues and the
Yeah.
burgers in the galley. And then he returned and to, you know, just to kind of, I can announce this, I can't say what else is going on, but I literally just signed Slam to a bunch of 2026 dates. So he went from a guy who was selling medical supplies and done with music to just giving our sailors this amazing experience. And if there's any one thing I
Wow.
did in this role that's great, it's that, you know. So
And folks, if you ever see Slam on the schedule, I finally got a chance on my last voyage. We both happened to be at Grounds Club together, and I finally had a chance to talk to him a little bit. What a lovely soul, lovely
yeah.
soul.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a big thing we shoot for too, is the people we bring on board. I always tell everyone we're building a community with our musicians. You're going to find that the musicians all jump in and play with each other, and it's not manufactured. It might seem like it is, but it's
yeah,
because we've cultivated a community on board where they all know each other. They all know that, wow, that guy Slam, he's really, really good. I got to go work on my guitar skills. You know,
yeah.
I got to get really, really good. I'm going to go play with him. So it's building a culture, but you can't do that if you have jerks in the mix, right? So we're always looking for that line of
Yeah.
like, you're good, but you're not a diva, because we already have a diva on board and they slay it anyway. So we don't need any more.
Yes. Yes. I've had Carlos 3 times. I love Carlos.
Oh,
Carlos is
Carlos is
phenomenal.
amazing.
Oh,
Amazing.
and puts on a great cabaret show, by the way, too, in On the Rocks. It's one of my
Yeah,
favorite
he does.
things
Yeah.
there. I mean, yeah, and what you said too about them like coming together, jamming. Essentially, you really can't do that with Build a Band. You know, a lot of the other cruise lines. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is they'll audition a bunch of people and go, okay, you 4, you're the house band. You 3, you're going to be the Latin band. You guys are going to be the rock band. I mean, they basically just throw the bands together, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed a little bit. When I was
Okay.
working ships in 2007, 2009, that was the MO was a build a band. I was a part of many of these house bands where 5 to 6 people, you get on board and you were given a book of music. Wednesday we're doing disco night. And it doesn't matter if everybody in the band is from every country except for America, we're still playing disco. And then we wonder why it doesn't sound authentic, right?
Right.
So, that again is something that we tend to avoid. Now, to the credit of the other cruise lines out there, with ships getting bigger and more spaces, they do have opportunities for specialized acts, but that is how we drive the bus across the board. We are
That's
led
amazing.
on hiring complete bands. Our Latin trios, for instance, if you're on any ship out of Miami, we will typically have a Latin trio that I always make sure is female fronted. I love a female voice in that. I feel it's much more approachable. And we hire them directly from Colombia. And what's funny is many of them have worked on other ships as a Latin trio, and they're hired and they're put on the ship and told, okay, now you play Bruno Mars or you play, MJ. And when they came to Virgin, I said, I want you to sing in Spanish the whole night. And they're like, ¿por qué? And I was like, we're hiring you to showcase the music that gives you the emotion and wants you to celebrate. We want you to be in On the Rocks and get people up and dancing to the music that motivates you, because that's what Virgin does. We're the record label that brought the world the Sex Pistols. We're the record label that brought the world Boy George. So we're going to bring them these new sounds on a show.
Wow. And you heard a little bit of that in the preview there. That I don't know what their name was, but that was a phenomenal trio that was playing on that.
Kyrie Latin trio. Yeah. Angelica's voice is just magical.
Magical. That's a good word for it. So we heard the story about Slam Adams. Is it Alan? It's Alan.
It's Alan. It's Slam Alan. Yep.
I say Adams all the time. I'm sorry, Slam, if you're watching. But you got any other interesting stories of finding a band or a musician for your ships?
We are constantly uncovering some great bands. We have this guy who comes on board every once in a while. His name's Dustin Monk. Dustin Monk, I say to him that he sounds country. He refuses to say he's a country artist, but he feels like it to me. He has slide steel in the band. But Dustin I believe he was a runner-up on The Voice. And what's hilarious, at one point we had him on the ship who was a runner-up on The Voice, and we had Selkie who was on the ship who was also a runner-up on The Voice. And I believe that same voyage we had Experimento, and Experimento has 2 Grammy winners in the band, and their drummer was also the drummer for Enrique Iglesias.
Oh my word.
We had that caliber of talent on the ship at that one particular time, and that's pretty common. Because of the experience we provide them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. One of our DJs, DJ Elvis, who's one of our top DJs, he had a mix called, I believe it's a Whitney Houston remix that he made. And Diplo, the biggest DJ in the world, dropped it in his opening set for Madonna's Brazil show. It was the largest attended show in the world, and he dropped a mix from Elvis, who will be playing Scarlet Night for you at some point. You will see it.
Wow.
So that's the caliber of talent. Yeah.
That's amazing. And folks, if you want to, I'm going to drop this in real quick. If you want to have a good opportunity to hear some of the music and the bands and everything that Jeremy is curating, Rebecca and I are going to be on the Brilliant Lady for 13 nights. Boy, talk about a wonderful opportunity to hear different bands, to experience all that food. Oh my gosh, we've got the new Spanish tapas at night at Razzle Dazzle. But 13 nights from Quebec to Miami, October 3rd through the 16th. That's this year. If you want to come with us, we're trying to put together a group. We're going to Quebec, St. John's, Halifax, Eastport, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, Charleston, South Carolina. I love that. And then this will be Brilliant Ladies' maiden call coming into Miami. I'm hoping we're going to make a big deal out of it. But if you want a good opportunity to hear all this music that we're talking about, Jeremy, I know you said there's a great lineup. I'm assuming you can't tell anybody who's coming, but it sounds like we've got some great music coming on that voyage.
You have a lot of great music on that voyage. Absolutely.
We'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. We have to, if we have to leave a little bit of a lure in what we do as well.
Of course, of course. And actually, Alex is asking, is there any way to find out what musicians are going to be on board not before booking, or is there a way to find out before booking? Probably not.
Presently, there's not. We're trying. That's one of the things that we're trying to work through at the company, is because we do cycle them every month. So we're trying to find a system where we can let everyone know, like, on these dates it'll be Slam Allen, on these dates it'll be Soul Line Trio. It's in the works. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Even if after you're booked, then maybe we can find out a little bit further in advance. That would be very, very cool. And honestly, as somebody who's been on the ship 7 times, I can tell you it honestly almost doesn't even matter who's on the ship, because they are going to be amazing. Jeremy, I've not heard, I'll be honest, I think yours are the only ships that I've been on that I haven't heard somebody's like, oh yeah, we got to go. Because I've been there on other ships where it's like, oh yeah, we got to go. But I haven't experienced that on Virgin.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate that. I think our musicians would appreciate hearing that as well. They work so hard.
Phenomenal. They're phenomenal. They really do work hard. Let's see. So you've actually dropped Boy George's name a couple of times, and he was actually on your ships, just this past year for the celebrations. So,
correct.
And these celebrations, they seem to be getting bigger every year. What are these Virgin Voyages, or I guess Virgin celebrations?
Yeah, so that the celebrations, as you know, they are our version. Again, we do everything a little bit different. We like to disrupt our version of the President's Cruise. So we always like to do it a little bit over the top. And again, we have the opportunity where we can lean into that Virgin bloodline, and someone can go talk to Boy George. It's usually the boss man who says, "Hey, can you come hang with us for a bit?" And Boy George will do it. And we get these opportunities. We just signed. Nicky Jam has been announced for the May 4th celebration.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people might not know who Nicky Jam is. And just to kind of educate people, Nicky Jam is one of the founders of reggaeton. He started with this other artist in Puerto Rico called Daddy Yankee, and they were responsible for bringing reggaeton to the 90s, bringing it to the world. Later on, they broke up. Nicky Jam went off to Colombia, and he actually slowed down the beats in reggaeton, and he added romantica to it, and he reinvented the genre again. He is a massive, massive artist in Latin America. I think he has 40 million followers on his Instagram. His performance is just amazing. Now, I don't speak Spanish. I am doing Duolingo every morning trying to learn. But when I listen to his music, I'm just like, oh, this is going to be great. And him and his team have been working hard. We really... We're looking forward to having some more opportunities, hopefully with artists of that caliber. Because again, that's something that, a Virgin should bring to the world, is music that is, you might not exactly know. It might not be your typical cruise ship music, but it's going to be really, really good and special. So we're really excited about Nicky coming out, and we have a couple more. I can't say who they're going to be.
You can't?
I can't yet. I'm sure you can keep trying.
There's nobody watching. You can. Nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to know.
I'm sure they're going to find out.
Just whisper it.
We have some artists coming for celebration on Resilient Lady, and we have another one for celebration on Scarlet Lady. I believe Resilient Lady's dates are over in Athens from May 18th until 29th, and then Scarlet is going to be out of Lisbon, going over to Portsmouth in July. I believe it's July 24th, if I'm not mistaken. But be on the lookout. We're going to be announcing who those artists are, and I think everybody's going to be very, very happy to see what we're bringing to the table. So.
Wow. Yeah, Alex is saying we'll sign NDAs. So everybody just take on an NDA, sign it. Alex always has the bright ideas. I love it.
Is Alex a lawyer? Is that what's going on?
He is one of my amazing solo travelers. Actually, that's one of the reasons why he loves Virgin, because you actually cater to solo travelers, which is phenomenal. So I love SL here saying the Virgin music heritage is evident in everything that Jeremy is explaining. Thank you both. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Oh, this is interesting. Kathy's asking, any thoughts on possible like Tarkan in Turkey? Huge popularity. I mean,
I would
thoughts? I
have.
have.
I don't know who that is off the top of my head.
Okay.
I wish I knew everybody off the top of my head, but I'm going to take a note of that and check it out for sure. This
There
is
you
how you
go.
find great stuff. You just uncover rocks everywhere. So thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that.
Just like your agents out there, finding stuff.
Yep.
What
Yep.
do you have like one artist that like really stands out? Like, I can't believe this person wasn't like playing. Like you just found this person that just blew your mind.
Um, there are many that we've had that I've been really, really proud of. Interestingly, there's one band that we had that was a crew band or a resident band, as we call them. They're called Plan V, and the
Hmm.
whole band is from South America.
Okay.
And they were one of the first bands that they were so good that I actually moved them over to the guest artist program. We just did that
Oh,
recently, which is
wow.
typically unheard of for us. It's not something we do. I think we did it one other time with a band called the Free Label. Um,
Okay.
but recently it's been Plan V, and the reason with Plan V is they are a full on ball of energy from start to
Wow.
stop. The front man Rudy is just full of energy. They play everything from Bad Bunny to
Wow.
Metallica if you want to hear it. So they do a great job with everything. I'm just really proud to
Wow.
see them get an opportunity like that, because again, it leans into our roots, right? We find great artists, we cultivate them to the next level of their careers.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, that is part of your heritage. That is part of what Virgin is all about. It is so cool to see you guys leaning in, especially, when we heard earlier, it's not exactly how it started. It was kind of
Yeah.
traditional cruise music thing, but
Yeah.
I think it's what makes it, there are so many things about Virgin, um, that a lot of my sailors are nervous the first time, I don't know if that's for me. And I just say, are you young at heart? And if they say yes, I said, I've met 89-year-olds, I've met 18-year-olds, and I've met everything in between, every color, every race, every creed under the sun. And it doesn't matter. Just come as you are and love the people you're with. And that is Virgin Voyages to a T.
Yeah. I think, one of the things when you come on a voyage, if especially if you're new, is
Mhm.
there really is not just with music, but with everything, with food, with the shows that we have. There really is a little bit of everything available for the most part,
Mhm.
and we follow from entertainment kind of like a festival mentality. Like if you go to
Sure.
Edinburgh Fringe, there's so much going on that you have to pick and choose. Okay, I'm going to go
Right.
see Dual Reality, but if I go see Dual Reality, I'm not going to get to see this thing. So
Right.
you get to pick and choose and kind of choose your own adventure. So the same thing
Yeah.
is for music. There's opportunities for you to go chill with Ray and Joe. There's opportunities for you to go salsa with Kyrie Latin Trio. There's opportunities for you to shred some blues with Slam. There's
Hmm.
opportunities for you to rave with the DJs for Scarlet Night.
Right.
So there's a little bit for everybody. And one of the things we try to do from the music standpoints is we want you to bask in memories and musical memories that like
Yeah.
you remember, like things these are songs I know and love. We want you to
Mhm.
revel. We want you to have those moments where you make some new friends and you're getting crazy in the pool and you're in the club and you're in the club until 3 a.m. just having a great time. And also, again, going back to our roots, it's important that we want you to explore musically. We
Mm.
want you to come on and go, I'm not normally into Latin music, but I'm going to sit down and watch this Latin band. And now I think I want to learn more about this because I could enjoy this dancing. So those are all
Yes.
key things that we're trying to do.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And the way, like you said, we don't have a specific venue. I saw the Latin Trio back in the dock house. They were on the rocks. They were, I think, even they might have been outside on the dock at one point. So I
Mhm.
love that you kind of spread them around. So even if it's like, oh yeah, I wasn't intending to listen to them, but here they are, they're hanging out at the dock house. I might as well grab a drink and see what this is all about.
Yeah.
And there was one band you had that literally played everything from like rock, and then at one point they sounded like they were playing Scottish folk songs or something like that, and I was like, my goodness, what is
Wonder
this all
which
about? And you just had to sit down and listen to them.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think of which band that was. You've stumped me. Now, you would think I would know who that band was, but
I
you've
I
stumped me,
have footage
Walter.
of them, so I'll send it to you later.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if you really like music, something that we started last year, if you're on Scarlet Lady, is Rock Shoki, which is an audience sing along. So we have a really over the top band, and we have the lyrics on screens behind the band in the red
Oh,
room.
I haven't
And
seen this yet.
yeah, it's on Scarlet Lady. I worked really closely with our director of creative to put this together, and
Oh,
we picked
wow.
those bangers, like those sing along bangers, like "Hey Jude." We picked "Fat Bottom Girls" by Queen,
Oh,
stuff like that, where
yeah.
like the lyrics are right there, so you can sing out of key and as loud and as obnoxiously as you want. It's nothing but a rock show.
Awesome.
So it's a great experience, especially if you're on Scarlet Lady. So I would encourage people to try that out for
Wow.
sure.
Is that coming to Brilliant Lady by any chance? Can you say? Can you say? Can you say?
I can't say. I
Ah,
can't say. Brilliant's got a lot of great stuff coming. There's
it
a lot of
does.
new stuff,
Wow.
coming to Brilliant Lady. We're gonna have some
Yeah.
new music. We're working on this thing called duets,
I
which I can
saw
talk
that.
about. Yeah, it's going to be some reimagined kind of like jazz stuff. We're probably going to do it
That's
earlier
cool.
in the day, more cabaret vibes with some singers and a nice
I
little
love
three-piece
it.
jazz band. Just bring the vibe down a little bit. So we're working on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
lots of fun
folks, if you
stuff.
haven't seen the press releases from Virgin Voyages or you haven't seen my videos, I mean, Brilliant Lady is coming out with all a couple of favorites, like Dual Reality is going to be back, but so much is going to be brand new, including the duets that you were just talking about. And
Yeah.
again, we've got 13 nights if you want to come with us. Then sail on October 3rd through the 16th from Quebec to Miami. It's going to be amazing. Diabetic wants to know, have there been a lot of renewal or consecutive contract, or is it a constantly revolving list of artists?
So most of my artists do return. The guest artist will usually do anywhere between 3 to 6
Hmm.
months a year with us across the fleet. A lot of our resident musicians, like Latin trios and stuff, they're
Hmm.
returning. They're usually on like a 4 month contract, and they'll be off for a
Okay.
couple months and back on. But we're
Okay.
always cycling new people into the mix because people do come and go. We do have some bands that explode. We had one of the, Free Label is a band that we've had on all of our ships. And since they've joined us, they are now on tour and they're absolutely killing it. So there's
Wow.
less opportunities for them to come to our ships. So we definitely, we start to cycle in new stuff, and we're always looking for new fresh acts as well, just to
That's
keep
amazing.
it going. Yeah.
That's awesome. And actually, along that, Alex, you got any recommendations on bands to follow or accounts to follow on social?
For ours, yeah, there's Solion Trio, Solo Trio, SOULOLYON Trio. He's great. Selkie's a great one to watch. My boys Plan V, they're a great one to watch.
Hmm.
Slam isn't so much on social media, but hey, go follow him anyway. It's a good
Yeah.
time. I'm trying to think of who else. We have so many. Pretty much all of them. I try to follow all of them, but those are some great ones to watch and kind of see what they got going
Awesome.
on. Yeah.
And a woman named Carlos is a good one to follow too for one
Oh
of the
yeah,
divas.
yeah. Any of the divas you want to follow on social media. That is just endless entertainment. Just so you know.
I'll tell you, my best story is Rebecca and I had dinner in Gun Bay one night. And, Gun Bay is a social experience, and it was just two of us and then three other people, somebody, his sister, and a cousin. And unbeknownst to us, it was actually Carlos, because Carlos was in their street personality, if you will. And I hadn't
Oh,
seen the
okay.
social. I didn't realize it was Carlos. And that night was the cabaret show. And the moment he started to, or she started to speak, I was like, "Oh my God, we had dinner with Carlos."
It's
And
amazing
it
to
was,
see that transformation. They go through so much work to do that.
oh my gosh, and what a lovely conversation too, because my brother-in-law was in Cats on Broadway, so it was just a whole night just talking about theater and shows and performing, and it was fabulous. I should have known. I should have known who it was. um, let's see. So let's see. Do karaoke with the Happenings cast? Yeah, that would be a lot of fun for sure. Um, All right, let's talk about some of your personal takes. We are starting to get we're starting to wind down, folks. So if you've got more questions, please go ahead and throw them in here. I always love getting guests on here, and you're definitely one of the more unique ones that we've had, Jeremy. So this has been awesome.
I get that a lot.
A lot of fun.
I get that a lot. Yeah, I think it's the beard. I think it's the beard.
There you go. There you go. And I'm hoping that I might get an invite to some of these rehearsals that might be coming up. Who knows? That would be nice.
To hook you up.
Yeah. So, Alex asked in the very beginning of the show, like, do you have a favorite ship and or itinerary?
I absolutely love the Barcelona run that goes to Ibiza at the end of the run. There's something about being in a different country. You go, especially when you go to like Toulon first. I love Toulon.
Oh, wow.
And you do, France, and then you're in Italy and you're in Spain, just getting all that experience and just being over there. It doesn't really matter which ship, but that itinerary is probably my favorite.
Awesome.
From a ship standpoint, I love them all, but Scarlet will always have my heart because she was the first. You never forget your first, and
Nope.
and she's taught us a lot of things. So that would be but don't tell the other ladies I said that, please.
I won't. No, she was our first sailing, and we happened to be in a cheeky corner suite on that very first sailing, and that was so. Yeah, Scarlet will always have a special place in my heart for sure. Okay, so some more personal takes. What is the best or favorite concert you have ever seen live?
Hands down, Paul McCartney.
Whoa!
When
Really?
I've seen a bunch of bands, but when you see Paul McCartney, the energy that he evokes, the positive energy, like I left that concert and I just wanted to hug everybody. There was nothing wrong with the world. It was just, love, love, love is all you need. And it just transformed me. It was almost a spiritual experience. So Paul McCartney, hands down.
Wow. See, for me, Bruce Springsteen is like my guy. I've seen Bruce a couple of times live, but believe it or not, my most favorite concert experience ever was the Monkees. It was the Monkees. The Monkees. It was Herman's Hermits, Gary Puckett in the Union Gap, the Grassroots, and it's like you knew every word of every song.
Yeah,
and it was just fun. It was just fun. So for me,
those are the best concerts when you're like, I know this song. Those are the best concerts. Yeah.
And like a lot of them, you're like, wait, they do this song? I didn't know that.
Exactly.
Okay. What is the concert or performer that you wish you could have seen live?
Ooh, it would have to be Elvis.
Oh.
It would. I would want to see, and I'm talking Vegas, white suit, that Elvis. Like, give me the full. I worked with a trumpet player who was in his band, and he still had the medallion that said TCB, and TCB meant take care of business. And Elvis used to always tell his band, "I don't care what you do. When you're off the stage, when you get on this stage, you take care of business." And I would just love to see that level of, that.
Love that. For me, it would have been Sammy Davis Jr. I would have loved to have seen Sammy Davis live. God.
Yeah, man.
He could do everything. And Missy, thank you, Missy. You're agreeing with the Monkees. So much fun. What on board? What would be your favorite guilty pleasure? And it can be more than one, but you got a guilty pleasure on board?
Choco tacos at Pink Agave. If I could eat those all day, I would, but I would have to swim behind the ship. That is my guilty pleasure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mine is even worse. Mine is the French toast burger up in the galley.
Oh man, I've never had that because I want to. Trust me, Walter, I want to, but I look at it and all I see, I'm like, oh my, I can't eat anything for the rest of the voyage if I ate that.
Well, that's why you only have one, and better yet, if you split it with somebody, it's even better because you only have half of it.
Friends, that's a good idea. That's how you make friends.
See, you should have some friends on the ship. Your favorite meal or restaurant on board?
Ooh, that's a real tough one.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to give it up to Gumbay. I'm going to give it up
Oh,
to Gumbe because I love going there with new people because whenever you go to Gumbe with someone new and they do the Gumbe thing, that person's
yeah,
always like,
yeah.
what's going on? And then by the end of the meal, they're looking for people because they want to do Gumbe too. There's just something about that, that's that whole experience. So
Okay,
I'll give it
that's
up to
fun.
Gumbe.
I like that. For me, it's going to be pink agave. I'll
Oh,
go to pink agave. Love it so much. Your favorite cocktail? What's your favorite cocktail? You got
I
one?
never drank a Negroni before I started working for Virgin Voyages, and now
Ah.
I'm thoroughly addicted. I know you can get a Negroni everywhere, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
for some reason I stumbled across them on board, and I love them now. Probably too much.
Love it. Love it. For me, the nutty old, Betty just said it, the nutty old fashioned in the test kitchen. It is so
Oh,
freaking good. And
ooh, yeah.
you got Kathy is now telling you to go look at Patrick Johnson as a tribute artist to Elvis. Ooh.
Okay. All right. All
Hey,
right.
you never know. New Year's Eve? Never know. Good work. Good work. And something, you've been on the ships quite a bit. Is there something that just might surprise people, like they don't know it's there, or there's just something on the ship? Is there something that so many people miss, and you're like, yeah, it's right there.
Ooh, that's a tough one
I'm
because it's
curious.
not always working, but I'm going to put it out there and I'll probably get in trouble for this. If you're in the roundabout and you look up at the ceiling,
Uh huh.
you'll notice that one of the lights is a different color.
I've
And
seen that.
that light is supposed to be, as far as I know, pointed towards due north.
Oh, I
But I
always
don't know if
wondered if that was a compass thing.
yeah, I'm always checking it, and I don't know if it's my phone or if I just don't know how to properly read a compass. So again, my apologies to any of the people in the deck and engine department are like, what the heck is Jeremy telling people, But no, that's one of the things that I don't think you'd notice.
I think it was the last voyage. I saw there was like a red light up there, and I'm like, is that a compass? I wonder what that
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah,
Ah,
yeah. Now you're gonna check with your phone, and we'll see if we're right.
I never thought. Yeah, I never thought to check it on the phone. That is so fun. Well, folks, man, I hope y'all have had a good time. I'm going to put your banner back up. Make sure you go subscribe if you want to see more from Jeremy. He's got a drum channel, Jer's Drum Shed, and it's fun. It is a lot of fun. Plus, you do some commentary on things, and I mean, you're a darn good drummer, man. Are you ever play on the ships?
I've filled in with Slam once. I don't play that much anymore. I let them do it, but I spent about a decade in a drumming sabbatical, and I did
Wow.
nothing but play to earn my keep. So I've had my time for sure.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's just amazing, folks. Well, one, I can't thank you enough, Jeremy. Folks, I can't thank all of you enough for coming to join us tonight. And I'll just say one more time, I am Walter, your independent travel agent with Where's Walter Travel. If we can book your Virgin Voyage so you can go listen to some of Jeremy's amazing artists that are on board these ships, you just reach out, where's waltertravel.com. Jeremy, this was awesome, man. I can't thank you enough for coming here.
No, thank you. Thank you everyone for hanging out and asking your questions. It's great to talk music.
Awesome, everybody. Well, I'll see you on Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time for our usual chat. And then next week, we have another special guest coming on next Thursday. So stay tuned. So Jeremy, thank you so much. Everybody, have a great evening.